Welcome back to Joy and Gratitude. I'm Nio Queiro with my wonderful co-host, Miss.
Beth. Ah, jumped in front. Beth Mercurio. Neo, so good to see you this morning.
Same here. So much going on, and as we're moving so fast sometimes, um, you know, I'm excited about a topic that we have randomly talked about many times, but it's time to bring it to the stage and share it with our audience. And the topic is our inner path. You know, think about it. We have all of our solutions to life, they're all inside us. We were perfectly made. There is no mold that is broken. It's just about us pausing and looking inward and figuring out the situations and our goals by understanding the proof is in our path and then trust ourselves first. So I want to spend some time talking about that inner path and what does it look like?
I love this. I love this topic. It's near and dear to my heart because I do feel like it's a lifetime journey. We say that a lot, and I just want to say that once again that finding our inner path, the path inward, finding our true selves takes our lifetime, right? It's not like one and done. But I think that certainly I know a lot of people that I work with and even people in my community sort of say like, how did you get started, or how did you find your path, right? I mean, a lot of clients that we work with, that's what they're trying to figure out. They're stuck in some way and they're trying to get back towards their path, right? Because all of our paths, as you said, they're imperfect and perfect at the same time. And that's the beauty of it, right? It's perfectly imperfect, our lives. And they go on, they're never straight. They're always winding and sometimes very hard and sometimes beautiful and joyful. And so I think this whole idea of like, how do we actually get on that path or get back to that path? Because obviously sometimes I think we go off the path and we just need to remind ourselves how to come back is for me, slowing down. It's taking the time to reflect and spend time alone. And sometimes I think, and maybe that's what we can talk about, the different ways in which we can set ourselves up to spend time with ourselves. Because it's something that you have to do intentionally many times. Many times our lives are so busy and so crazy and asking so much of us across all the different roles that we play that we actually have to set time aside. And I know we've talked about that. You have a morning routine that you really hold yourself to, and I have a morning routine. And so, what are the ways in which, in lieu of a routine, because it takes a while to get that, create a habit, create a routine, etc. What are the little baby steps that we can talk to people about that have helped us on our paths, that have helped us allow us to have a feeling that we know how to get back to self? How do we get back to self? How do we connect with self? Because I'll say it now and I will say it over and over and over again. It is from self connection and self leadership. I talk about that a lot, leading ourself, that we are then able to extend ourselves with grace and compassion and kindness to others. If we're not connected to self, it's much easier to flow into victim mode. Why is this happening to me? And really not have an ability to sort of be in a place where you can show up as the human you want to be. You start to kind of retreat and not be in that place of like, I feel really good about who I am and how I'm showing up today. And that will afford me this incredible gift of showing up for other people, whether that be holding the door for someone, whether that be smiling at someone, noticing the other people in the world around you that make this a beautiful place to be. Um, I don't know. How does that resonate with you? Obviously, I'm feeling really. People can't see me if you're just listening. I'm holding my heart because heart led work is being connected to self and sharing self connection with others. So it's a really important topic, and I'm just really glad that we landed here today.
Absolutely. And, it's as you were saying this, I literally had two different things that came up. The first one that came up was something that I struggled with for a very, very long time. And that was seeing myself. And I'm talking literally and metaphorically. Um, I avoided mirrors. I avoided um, film, getting even these Zooms and all that stuff. I would always look beyond my computer, and people thought I was looking straight, but I forced myself not to look at my image. And I wouldn't look at myself when I was recorded for events. I would listen to the event, but never saw the recording. And the reason for it is I had built up all this dysformic beliefs about myself that made it impossible for me to learn, for me to see how I was bringing, as you stated, the best of myself to others and how that was impacting them. And at the same time, how I was being impacted by my external environment and just learning to love myself. So I think the first step is see you, see
Mm.
who you are. And it could be that you may struggle like I did with that mirror. It may be that you struggle listening to your voice. It may be any little thing, but that thing that you avoid, take the step on that one thing. And we all know what it is. We all have one that we avoid and sit with it. Be still and look in the mirror if it's the mirror. And don't look in the mirror for imperfections. Start looking in the mirror for the things you love. If you're hearing the voice, sit still, look, hear the voice, and start focusing on the words, not the twang or whatever it is, high pitch, low pitch that your voice has. That actually can be changed at any time. You can learn how to change. That's why they have voice coaches. But that's not the point. The point is to really hone in on those things that you naturally are bringing. That beautiful advice that you gave a child that day or a friend, that is what your voice is for. That ability to communicate your talent, that is what your voice is for. So sit with it and start loving it.
So I love that. And I think that this idea of self love is so beautiful. But I also think it can be really hard for people. They can't even so what you're saying I completely agree with. See yourself. I think sometimes people when they look in the mirror can only see the imperfections. And so what I would love to share with our listeners is the first step is saying, okay, those things that you see as imperfections can also be the things that help you shine, that make you like you see them as imperfections, but not everybody else does. So for me, I I think we've both mentioned achiever, perfectionist, right? First of all, I just have to say there's like an incredible book out there that was pretty life changing for me by Brene Brown. I'm sure many of our listeners already know her work. She's pretty incredible, called The Gifts of Imperfection. And it was the first time you can imagine the gifts of imperfection. Whereas I was always like, no, 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 imperfection. I mean, I literally think about it now because this has taken a lot of work for me, but I really try to embrace the imperfect, which is really hard for me because I used to literally like if a mug had a chip, I'd have to throw the mug away. Like it was imperfect. It made me uncomfortable. If everything wasn't in order in the way I which I wanted it, it made me uncomfortable. So I noticed that imperfection really caused me some stress. Like that was part of my whole makeup. And now I'm realizing, there's a million sayings like the cracks are where the light comes in, right? So now when I see a crack, I sort of say in a mug, as a perfect example, I'm like, that mug is special in its own right. No other mug's gonna have a crack like that, a chip like that. Where did that chip come from? Maybe it came from, some human that touched it in some beautiful way. Like there is a way to embrace imperfection and start to love imperfection. And I feel like if you start If you're one of the people like I was that saw imperfection and couldn't even see the other things behind it, I couldn't see the beauty, I couldn't see the things that I should be loving about myself. One of the first steps can be the things that you see that are imperfect, starting to embrace and love those. And the beauty is then you see all the other things behind the imperfections that have always been there. The beauty, the love, the things that make you who you are all there, like you said. They're all there. We are each unique individuals who have the most incredible gifts to give to the world. And once we start to embrace our imperfections, and that can come from a physical imperfection, like you said, it can come from what we call a personality imperfection, like, gosh, I'm too animated. I'm too, all the things we do, all the berating that we do to ourselves. If we start to go, yeah, maybe that's true, but it makes me kind of adorable. Or maybe I don't like it. I know it. I can name it and I can work on it. Like you said, there's plenty of things we can do to shift and change. We can get help if it's not something we can do by ourselves. But I just kind of wanted to name and say out loud, I think there's so much to knowing, understanding ourselves and really loving ourselves right along with all the imperfections that we have, all the things that make us us that maybe we don't like.
Yeah. There's great power in that. And I think that I found for myself to be the first step, because reality is this is such a long journey. You stated that. It's a journey for life. Knowing yourself, that inner path, it's a path because every day you wake up and you take another step in it. And it's a windy path. There are days that you're going uphill. And that's actually a good thing because there is this pain pleasure balance principle. And in that balance principle, reality is as you experience pain and you go through it, what is on the flip side is pleasure. And that's how dopamine works. It basically is the pain. Let's say you are a runner, you love the run, right? But in the run, there's some pain. And you push through it and you just looking at that finish line and you're pushing through it and you're getting to the finish line. But what happens when you get to that finish line? Euphoria. You found the pleasure. And now you have this pleasure that goes through the day. And when we understand and we take our path and we break through these imperfections, we start embracing pleasure. Dopamine comes in. And now you have a balance that you actually are walking into your joy and happiness and gratitude because you understand that you can get over the pain because the pain is temporary. The pain has a lesson, and the
Mm.
pain also, which is really cool about pain, the pain is just temporary.
I love it. I it's amazing because when you said you're a runner, I was literally gonna bring up this running example. I'm like, are people exhausted hearing me talk about my runs? But they're so important to me. We talked about it. What's your routine? What grounds you? What makes you enables you to start your day in a certain specific way? Make a choice about your day. And today I was running, and this feels so relevant because I used to run for the euphoric feeling at the end. You described it perfectly. And I would literally be like, I only run for the feeling of the end of the run. Like, that was the only reason I ran. I was miserable, like pretty much like the getting up, the putting the shoes on, all that part was like drudgery. The run itself was pretty much drudgery. And it was that feeling at the end where I could say, I accomplished achiever, right? I therefore had self-worth because I did it. I finished it. It felt great to accomplish something, right? It was all about that end feeling. But one of the things I've really shifted is just what you said, which is like, okay, during pain, there's lessons to be had. It sucks, but like if we could actually also be present in the pain, there's so much beauty in the pain. So today, because I've shifted this outlook, because I'm really working on being mindful and using my runs as meditation time, no music, just like me and nature, and I only run outside because that's partly what's feeding my soul. I saw it's cold where I live right now, and very cold, and
Eric.
there was, like, this very cold, and there was this beautiful, like, field 'cause I live near water, and, it was 20 degrees, and it was, like, frozen grass, and then this, like, ledge, and there was all this cracked ice, and then it was smooth, and I took a picture of it with my phone, and because I was like, this is life. It's smooth, and then there's all this pain and cracking and imperfection, and it's smooth again. And you just literally described that with your words, and if you can slow down, and then no matter whatever you're going through, there are the most beautiful visuals that bring all of these things to life. So I had like a visualization of what life is like, and I noticed it, and I was mindful of this beautiful picture in nature is what life feels like. There's cracks in the road, it's really messy, and then it calms down. But the calm has such a more beautiful, like I appreciate the calm so much more because I went through all of that. And I know on the other side, now when I'm in the pain and the cracks, I also know there's going to be smoothness on the other side. So I love this idea of how can we also get our listeners to be mindful and present and slow down, which we keep coming back to, and we're going to come back to it over and over and over again because it is in slowing down, being still, being present, that we can see these things that can actually bring us joy and gratitude and move us through this pain that we know will be temporary. We will get to the other side, but we will get there in a way that enables us to feel okay on a daily basis if we add joy and gratitude and mindfulness to our lives.
Totally agree. I think one of the things that I would say is I ask our listeners to challenge themselves. Let's give our listeners a challenge.
Love it.
Let's take one one thing that you are struggling with, and slow down and sit with it. And also identify the learning, identify the blessing, the beauty in that pain or that situation, and define your action, your next step. And we would love to see your comments as to what it is. And you don't even have to tell us what it is, but you could definitely tell us what the experience was like. If you could share what it is wonderful because this is a safe place. But I challenge, and I'm going to take the challenge myself, and I'm willing to share. Um, but I think that it's really when we take action that things change. You know, things change when we're willing to take action. And yes, you got to slow down to get there because you got to make sure that's intentional action. We do not want to be in a place that we are following a script. We want it to be yours, that it's going to make a difference in your life, your way, and that you can know that this is what's going to work for you. No one else, just you.
I love it. And we talk a lot about experimentation, right? You know, we
Yeah.
always say try, like we never know. And I think one of the things I really honestly had a bit of a physical reaction when you sort of said, you know, be still and stay in it. I mean, like that's so scary to me. Staying in discomfort, I really don't like. And I've had to work so hard. And so in this challenge, I also think one of the cool things is if you notice that sitting in that discomfort, like whatever it is that you choose, that experience, and staying in it for a little bit by slowing down and just being in it instead of whatever your go-to coping mechanism is. Mine is escapism. Like I don't want to be there, so I'm going to go do something fun so I don't have to feel this way. I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to go do something really exciting. So really, I was just trying to slow us down a little bit to even say that first step is understanding where you maybe feel uncomfortable and what your go-to mechanism is. So if your go-to mechanism is to escape, is there some space that you can create to make a new action? So, Neo, I know you were talking about the action part, which I think is so important, but it might be that even before they take action, they realize that they have a default action that they already do when they are in an experience, in pain, something that they don't like. So, I would say the first thing is if you have a default action, notice it. And then the second thing is like, if you don't like that, you could try something different if it doesn't get you any closer to getting out of that pain. So I know for me, it's escape. And I think I mentioned friends, like doing something that gets me totally away from whatever's upsetting me. But the reality is, when that thing that I go do, my escapism plan is over, I'm right back there. I haven't moved and shifted away from the pain at all.
Yeah.
So choosing a different alternative, which was to sit in it and feel it, feeling the pain, crying, being angry, whatever my emotion is around what I'm going through, when I feel it and allow myself to be in it, I move myself through it. It's like instead of interrupting the flow of emotion, I'm able to feel it and then move past it. So I guess I would just say the action I love, but some people may just get stuck in their default mechanism of their old way. And maybe part of it is maybe experiment with a different thing, being still, sitting in it, and allowing yourself to feel some of that stuff. And it may actually give you an opportunity to move through it faster, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And actually, when we back to that pain and pleasure balance principle, it speaks about what we would call default or um, comfort reactions, and how, if you keep going to those, you basically never truly get a balance of the pain and the pleasure. You are in a cycle of never ending addressing the issue.
Mm,
So it is
yeah.
truly magical that you made the connection, because that action is an action outside of that comfort zone, outside of your
Yes,
default.
yes,
That's when
yes.
the action is really a powerful, impactful action. And at this point, I think we should talk about the joy playlist for this episode.
I can't wait.
And the first song is Be Still by The Killers. It's an indie group. And I love this song because in it, it says, Rise up like the sun labors. And it goes on to say, Till the work is done. So rise up like the sun till the work is done. The work in ourselves is really never done, but every day we get closer to knowing ourselves and being comfortable in our skin and in joy and gratitude. And our second song is Already Enough by Fearless Soul. And this song is Remember, you are already enough. You have nothing that is missing and everything inside you is the answer.
Oh, it's
So,
I love those songs. I can't wait to listen. And right, it's the perfectly imperfect, right? We have it all. We're already enough. I love it. And now for people listening, you can hear I've got the fabulous bag of gratitude rocks, and we're gonna choose. Let's see what we've got today. Today we have a turquoise, beautiful rock that talks about flow. The word today is flow, of course, because in our imperfect self world, we need to flow. We need to flow. And I believe that we've talked a lot about this. In order to flow, we do need to be still. We need to create spaciousness. And to me, this idea of trying to move past a default action and choose a new one is to actually move yourself into a flow state where you're able to try different things and move down that journey, not be stuck in an old place where you're not flowing at all and there's no movement. So we're choosing movement, we're choosing flow, and we're loving our imperfect selves.
Well, I like to say that we are flowing into our entanglement of freedom and being able to really look inward and find our space. With that, I like to say thank you for sharing some joy and gratitude moments with us. And we are looking forward to seeing you again.